Hello my fellow weirdos, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I read and review all types of horror book, so if that's your thing, be sure to subscribe. Now let's just get into today's video, which is 5 horror books that are very action-packed and well-paced. I would recommend any of these books for something that's just quick to get through, easy to read, and maybe something new, because there's a lot of variety in this stack. Stack of wonders. Don't know what I'm going on about. Anyway, let's just, without further ado, let's just get straight to it. So the first book in this stack is Kenzie Jennings' Red Station. This is my second book that I've read by this author. The first book, Reception, is also definitely a recommendation. Kenzie Jennings is an author that I feel like is slept on a little bit. And not a lot of people are talking about her work. This is part of the Splatter Western series, which is a series where numerous authors have taken part to produce their idea of a splatterpunk Western. Now, I would say you don't have to be into Westerns to read this series, because I am not, let's just say, and I was pleasantly surprised by a few, because I've read a few of these books now, and I was pleasantly surprised by all of them, as they're obviously very horror adjacent. So yeah, you don't have to be a Western fan. This this is published by Death's Head Press. I don't know if they're still doing these, but there's so many in the series. I think I've read about 5, and there's like probably over 10. I believe this one particular falls onto the lighter side of the horror, because if you are deterred by the term splatterpunk, as obviously that's pretty heavy, pretty gory, this one isn't as bad as the other ones, although still check trigger warnings if you haven't read splatterpunk before or extreme horror. So essentially in this book we are following a group of passengers, travellers, who are travelling in between. Their destination is unknown, or at least you don't know too much about these characters going in. There's a mysterious lady in a red dress. There is a doctor on the hunt for a missing father and daughter, and you've got a newlywed couple in this as well. So you've got 4 people, and they come across this red station, this house. They are promised a place to stay, a place to eat. Then a load of shit kicks off, basically. I think with it being so short, that's one of the reasons why it's a great read in between reads, and you're not waiting too long for the action to start. However, there is still quite a build-up in this book. You go through about the first half of the book in getting introduced to the characters and their backgrounds. Obviously you get to find out about their backgrounds, and then it comes to this conclusion at the end, and this action-packed sort of drama happens at the end. I'm not going to reveal too much there. But yeah, if you're looking for something a little bit different, I feel like this is a great one to add to your TBR, to get a little taster of this entire series, actually, and to get a taster of Western horror, because there are a lot of Western horror books about. So if you are thinking about getting into it, definitely look no further than this book, because this will give you an idea of what it's like. Like I say, Kenzie Jennings is a talented author, and they have also done Reception, which I very much enjoyed. I will say the story itself, the writing itself, is very much like it could be adapted to a screenplay, very cinematic. Okay, without further ado, let's get on to the second book of this stack, and that is my latest read, actually. Out of all these, this is the one that I've read most recently, and that is Coffin Moon by Keith Rosson. Now, thank you so much for Infinite Library, who gifted me this, by the way. I will tag their channel because they're also on YouTube, and they recommend some horror books as well. So shout out to you. So this is a sprayed edge edition, and it's also signed. So yeah, again, thank you. I already had my eye on this book, and they mentioned that it would be my cup of tea, and it's been compared to the likes of Stephen King. So yeah, I thought I'd give it a go. I have heard of Keith Rosson has done another, I believe it's a duology, the Fever House duology, and that's the one with the creepy weird hand on the front of the cover. Insert cover here. And I believe that is a series, a duology, Fever House, and I can't remember the next one. But again, screenshot here. That sounds very interesting to me. And after reading this book, I am definitely going to get into those as well. Let me know if you've read those books, by the way, because I know they're pretty popular. So Keith Rosson, Coffin Moon. This was described to me as a vampire crime noir. And it's set in the 70s. So you've got all those sort of elements that I enjoy. Vampires. I love a vampire book that's either set in the 70s or 80s. Or on the other hand, I like a vampire book that's a gothic book that's set like in the 1900s. So this was always going to appeal to me, and I could not put this down. So I think I read this within like a day and a half. I was so intrigued. I think it's over 300 pages. Yeah, it just comes in about 312 pages, 315, something. Yeah, anyway, you get my point. And I was so engrossed in this book. Like, so engrossed. It's so action-packed. There's never a dull moment. It follows our main character, Minor, and he's in a relationship with his wife, and they end up adopting their niece, Julia, and she's 13. Now, Minor's just come back from Vietnam. He served several years, like it's set in the mid-70s, so I don't know how long he was away. But he returns home and he is working in the bar below his home. So his home's upstairs, bar's downstairs. One night he serves this guy, he's introduced to this guy in the bar, and he is a vampire. So Minor doesn't know that he's a vampire, but he knows there's something off about this guy. And then something happens to annoy this vampire, and Minor's life is essentially ruined. Now, I would say don't read the blurb of this, because I would just look now and it does reveal more than I think is necessary for you to get started with this book. So definitely don't read the blurb if you want like a totally spoiler-free experience. That is all I'm going to say in terms of the plot. But I will say this was a great read. Such a great read. At its core, it's about revenge. It's about loss. It's about having a troubled past, dealing with like PTSD, rage, family. If you like any of those elements in a book, I would highly suggest that you pick this one up. This is worth the hype that everyone has been giving it. And I will be reading Fever House this year. That is all. Next book out of this stack is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monika Kim. Now, can we just for a minute, this is the Evernight edition by Illumicrate. Those edges, come on. Yeah, so this is absolutely stunning. Stunning. And you may have seen me talk about Monika Kim in my other video, which I will link and post the thumbnail here, for her latest book that is called Monika. Also highly recommend that book when it comes out this April. However, this one is out now. You can get this edition. To be fair, the US edition's pretty sick as well. I will upload a cover. But look at these illustrations, guys. Come on. The Room Full of Eyes. Yeah, if you don't like eyes, you're not going to like this book. So, pre-warning. But yeah, if you like disgusting, gory descriptions of squelchy eyes, this one will be for you. Now, we follow a main character, and her name is J1, or J1, and she is a freshman in college. Her mother, or her Oma, is distraught because her appa has left the family home after having an affair. So he leaves J1 with her sister and her mother. Her mother gets into this relationship with a very obnoxious white man called George, who essentially treats her like a kink. This book delves into Asian fetishization, and we get J1's inner thoughts and observations on that, whilst also her world is falling apart. She's getting poor grades. She's obviously going through all this stuff with her mom and her dad. And she starts to spiral, and she starts to get these thoughts. And let's just say they start to really compulse her. Compulse her, is that what I mean? Who knows? Anyway, she starts thinking about these thoughts. Especially she gets fixated on George's eyes. This is great. This is like a serial sort of killer story with a very good reason behind it. Not to say there's a good reason to be a serial killer, let's be real. But like I said in my previous video of the Monika review that I did, Monika Kim delves into these interesting topics which I don't believe are covered that much in horror books. And she gives them sort of a fresh lens and a fresh take, and she adapts them to horror. And this is what I love about horror, because it just goes through, so you can go through some everyday situations and some wrong situations and really just push the boundaries and tell the story in your own way. And that's what she has done with this book. And there was not a minute that I wanted to put this book down. It was so good, so good, and I am due a reread of this soon. But yeah, if you haven't read this yet, if you are into like psychological books, if I would compare it to anything, it's been compared to like Boy Parts by Eliza Clark, which is such a great book, by the way. But yeah, if you like that, you would love this. And again, there's a reason why so many people talk about this book, because it's so damn good. Damn good. Why did I say that? Because it's so damn good. Guys, to say that I do YouTube and videos, I get on here and I can't speak. Anyone else like this? Is it just me? Yeah, sometimes my pronunciation is so bad with things. Forgive that. So the next book in this stack is one that I don't see talked about that often, and that is Demonic by Strand. This is just batshit. This is like crazy. So essentially, I read this a while ago now. We are following a guy who is in love with his co-worker, but she's married. But her husband does some questionable things and is involved in this sort of ring, let's just say, that commit a lot of crimes. Corey finds out about this and he's not happy, so he kind of goes to Quinn's house to protect her, or so he thinks. He goes with a knife and a gun to confront her husband after finding out this information. However, he makes things a whole of a lot worse and opens up this entire gateway of shit. This book does not take itself too seriously. I would describe it as like a bro horror, because it's so daft, it's so out there. But if that is your thing, then definitely check this one out. It does have some more extreme moments, so I don't think I would class it as an extreme horror, but it's like on the threshold. So bear that in mind. But yeah, this was just such a fun time. This was one of those books where you just want to get into something so stupid and entertaining For me, it kind of reminded me of like Little Nicky, the film, in a way. So I would compare it to that. I don't know any books that I would compare it to. I don't think I've read anything quite like this. But if you've read authors like Christopher Triana, David Sodergrim, let's think, Nick Roberts, those kind of authors, then I think you would love this. And yeah, I just don't see people talking about this. It is such an entertaining read. And yeah, you won't be bored with this book. There's not a dull moment in this book at all. Okay, so the last book in this stack is one of my favourites. I read this last year, and I think it's been out for a couple of years now. But yeah, this was in my top 12 of 2025. Again, shameless plug, but if you've not watched that video, go and watch it. Because I do go into more detail than I will do here. This is it's a Marmite book. People tend to hate it or they tend to love it. So yeah, let me know if you've read it and what you think of it. But obviously I was in the category that loved it, and that is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This book, guys, is my favourite Grady Hendrix book. It is top tier because I find it to be the most out there, batshit Grady Hendrix book there is. I've read them all now, I think, because I saw him last year. So I sort of binge read all of his books before that because I just wanted to get them all signed, and then it turned out you could only get 3 signed. So thanks, Grady. But anyway, this was one of the ones I got signed because it was my favourite. And I just think it's Grady Hendrix doing what Grady Hendrix does best, and that is writing entertaining, batshit crazy reads. If you think he's over the top with his other books, then look no further than reading this one. So we're essentially following 2 siblings as they return back to their family home after their parents have died. So they return back to their family home because they now own it, and they are trying to sell it, essentially, like the clues in the title. And yeah, it's haunted. There's a lot of dolls in this. A lot of dolls, a lot of puppets. And I am obsessed with creepy dolls and creepy puppets. I don't know why, but if I had it my way, basically I live with my sister at the minute. Me and my partner live in a room at my sister's house, and there's not a lot of room. Like, to be fair, I'm pushing it even now with all the books that I have. But in an ideal world, I would have a room filled with creepy figures and creepy dolls because I bloody love them. Something about them. I don't know what it is. I feel like, I don't know. When I was younger, I used to visit my nan's house quite a lot, and she had a room of dolls. It was weird because any usual kid would be scared. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. My sister, I think, was scared of these dolls. However, when I went, I think I might have even been scared of them when I first saw them, and at some point. But then at some point that changed, and I just became obsessed. But anyway, it was this room, and sometimes we would stay over, and it was the spare bedroom. I don't know why she kept these dolls in the spare bedroom. She had them everywhere throughout the house, in all fairness. They were all scattered everywhere, but they were all lined up on the windowsill in this room. If I have some photos, I'll try and dig them out, because I used to do photo shoots with them, honestly. Yeah, that's just me being a weirdo. But yeah, I was obsessed. I was drawn to them. I was like, and I don't even think my nan thought they were creepy. That is the funny thing. I felt like she liked the dolls, and she appreciated them in a very different way than what I did. I felt like she thought they were very ornate and decorative, and Yeah, and I just thought they were creepy as fuck, but I loved them. That is sort of what I was getting when I read this book. Like, that was what I was picturing. It brought me back to that time of my life. So I appreciated that. And you might have seen in my other video, but when I did meet Grady and I did say to him, this is my favourite book that you've done. And he said, well, there's definitely something wrong with you then. And I was like, oh, fair enough. Can't say anything about that, Grady. I agree with you. Anyway, so yeah, we follow these siblings that go to their parents' house and try and sell it. A load of shit happens. It's action-packed. They're trying to recover their relationship because they have got a shit relationship as it is. And there is a scene with one of the brother, his name was Mark, and I just can't get it out of my head. There's just something that happens in this book, and I'm not going to tell you, but it's just so funny. I was laughing out loud. And it's not often that I laugh out loud when I read a book, but this definitely made me laugh out loud because it's just so insane. And it is just so, it doesn't take itself too seriously, this book. You would not be a fan if you're liking a bit more serious or gothic horror. It's not like your typical haunted house, supernatural gothic. It's supernatural batshit. What the hell's just happened? I know I keep saying batshit. Say batshit again, Anna. Yeah, so I think that's all I want to say about this plot. Let me just read the blurb because I don't want it to like go into too much. But yeah, it's honestly such a good book. And this cover, this is the US edition because I'm sorry, but the UK edition is not my cup of tea. This to me fits in more with the style of the book. Anyway, that's just me rambling. But I'd love to know if you've read this book and let me know if you are a lover or a hater, because yeah, I think Grady Hendrix needs to do more books like this. All of his books tend to be quite like this, to be fair, but this one just goes a bit more over the top than the other ones, especially with like Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. That has some more serious tones in it, and I get it. He probably just wants to like go into a bit more like serious topics and explore those, but I think he does this type of horror the best. So yeah, this has been my 5 fast-paced horror reads to get you out of a reading slump. Let me know if you've read any of these. I would love to chat more about them. Until next time, weirdos. See you later.